Hello and welcome back to another episode of Action Toon Bros. I'm Ben Sturgeon.
And I'm Matthew Lewis.
And today we are starting episode 2 of Castlevania, but episode 2 of our Castlevania series. You know what? We don't even do the episode numbers anymore.
I would say I don't remember which. Yeah, I have to count them when I put them up, but I don't.
Well, of course you do. Yeah. I mean, so you'll remember. me on the other hand. Anyway, so if you heard from our last one, it's been a while since my friend Matt here has actually watched this series. You said you've gotten all through season 2?
Yeah, in the past when it first came out years ago. I watched all of season 2 then, but since then I've stopped and been following the series for these episodes.
Right, no, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And of course if you were here for our last recording, you realized that this is episode 2 of Castlevania, and we already got done with season 1 because it was only 4 episodes long.
Yeah.
But this, I feel like you're gonna like this season a lot because there's a lot more going on.
Yeah.
It's actually double what season 1 was. Yes, it's 8 episodes long.
Yeah.
And there's at least one character I know you're gonna
There
like.
are a lot of characters I really like because, like I was gonna say, this is exactly what I wanted from the first season. We only had 3 or 4 real characters. This one, just a huge explosion of people. That's just like. I love. They're all so interesting. They're all so fantastic to follow. It's I really appreciate it. I really liked it.
Good. Well, let's not keep them waiting, shall we?
Oh yeah.
Let's get to season 2, episode 1.
War Council starts 1 year ago in Lupu Village. Lupa, right?
Oh yeah, Lupa.
My freaking autocorrect made it Lulu Village, so I was like, wait, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, but it's spelled Lupu, but it's pronounced Lupa.
Yeah. Lisa is treating the old woman who greeted Dracula in the future. She sees Lisa's ring and asks, "Oh, where's your husband?" She's like, "Oh, he's away right now."
He's away. Here, have these herbs. No, I don't want any more hot leaf juice.
Yeah.
Like, no. This is actual medicine. Mm-hmm. It'll help your condition out.
Yeah, she mentions the old healer woman gave me nasty foot scrubbings and all kinds of other weird witch stuff, and she's like, no, this is actual medical science. It's perfectly fine for you.
Yep, and of course she's like, oh, thank you so much, Lisa. You're so kind. As she's leaving, we see the bishop and some thugs, and they're like, all right, go into this house.
We see specifically the same two, the bald guy who's going to lose his finger.
Iron Finger.
Yeah, Iron Finger guy. They go into the house and start looking for magic and start turning over all of her medical equipment.
We heard you were being very disruptive, and we heard that there might be witchcraft here.
Yeah, they start tearing up the whole thing, these lab experiments. She's like, hey, come on, this is just science, leave it alone. And
it's just science, this isn't magic. Oh, one of the things you never say to a bishop, this is an abomination of God. This has nothing to do with God. What?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. And then, of course, she gets taken away.
Yeah, they burned the lab and all of her equipment when they see, the spinning device, and she warns them, no, he's going to take revenge my husband will take revenge if you guys do this. And this is when it cuts to the present. Dracula is watching a fire and just starts really sadly contemplating what happened.
Yep, just sitting, remembering.
Yeah, this is when he slowly descends and goes to his council of vampires.
Oh yes, and there are quite a few of them indeed.
Yeah, we see a whole number of them with a whole bunch of different outfits from all across the world, and we see 2 humans among them.
Ah, yes, the two humans, the only 2 humans he trusts, because one way or another they're going to find out. These are you have a taller, darker skinned individual who is bald, and you have not as tall, but he's not heavy set, skinny, long haired individual who just they both have the tall one has a very serious composure. The other one just has a very calm expression. We find out these are Isaac and Hector.
Yeah.
The Devil Forge Masters. Which, we'll get into that when we get into what Devil Forge Masters are.
Yeah, Dracula addresses everyone, reminding them why they are fighting, and saying the country will belong to vampires and will be a land for the vampires.
And one of them, a very Viking-looking vampire known as Godbrand.
Voiced by Peter Stormare, of course.
things he's been in?
Oh my god! Well, the Constantine movie, he was the devil. He was Lucifer in that movie.
You gotta realize with me, actors'
John
names,
Wick. Yeah, he's like pretty much the go-to like weird Russian voice actor for a billion things in it. Until Dawn, he was a doctor.
Okay, we're good now. It's just. We're good now. It's just like when you say an actor's name, you know I'm gonna ask who, because a lot of names do not click with me.
Of course, yeah. But Peter Stormare, also I know him from Tim and Eric Awesome Show. Great job. He was Gob. He was a weird creep in that too.
But yeah, and of course, this guy Godbrand just walks up and he's like, okay, why are we doing this?
Yeah, why do we trust these two humans? What's going on, Dracula? And he says, don't question my plans.
Don't question me. I mean, come on. It's me. I'm Dracula. And Godbrand's like, No, this is a whole lot of shit.
Well, not yet. He's not that bold yet. But Hector and Isaac talk down to Godbrand, saying, "You're such a fool. We're going to go see Dracula. He doesn't need you. He listens to us." Dracula doesn't like that Godbrand sees the humans as livestock. And he says, like, oh, they don't understand. This is awful. The vampires are being so evil. Hector and Isaac said that they also hate humans. Dracula says that they both hate humanity as well. And we also know how they work, like what they do for him, and they also say why the humans must die.
Yep, and actually, a very good character development moment. As they're staring in the flames, we actually hear some of Hector's background going on, and why he hates humans and joined Dracula because apparently he had parents that were. We'll find out more of that.
Yeah, we hear them. Later. We hear them kind of like awful, being angry with him. We also learn that he has a knowledge of alchemy.
Yep.
And also that he killed his parents.
Yes, and that's all the basics we have so far.
This is when we cut to the aftermath of the season finale attack on Greshit.
Yep, the Greshit.
The people are recovering. They're clearing out the bodies of the demons. It's a very cool scene. They succeeded. This is when we see Sypha is staying with Trevor and waving
waves a sad goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye to the people.
And it's
or
beautiful.
To her people.
It's beautiful. It's like you kind of want to go with them. Yeah, but I need to stay here and everything. Dead silence. And then Sypha gets upset with Trevor because he's like, "You're supposed to comfort me right now."
He's like, "Oh, they're there."
Yeah, they're there. I'm not good at this.
Yeah,
clearly you're not.
This is when we see Alucard drawing in the stand. We're in the hut where the speakers were formerly staying. And he's talking to the sketch about Dracula and why his mother wanted him kept away from Dracula growing up and all this other stuff. A little bit of backstory on him really quickly while he draws in the sand a picture of Dracula.
Actually, if you look at the drawing, it's supposed to be like dad and mom.
Yeah. This is when we go back to Hector and we see a number of zombie-looking animals in his lab. And I was like, oh, it's so adorable. We see a little pug. We see some birds.
Yeah, and now all of these birds and like the pug and everything, they're like half alive, and you can definitely see some like skin deterioration, like some kind of necromancy.
Yeah, very clearly necromancy because a lot of them are missing a lot of flesh, but they are behaving quite normally, not like brain dead zombies.
They're like normal animals.
Yeah, it's a very, very cool scene. We see a number of dead bodies being drawn to him, and this is when Godbrand shows up.
And he's just like, "Hey, I want to apologize for my outburst." Yeah,
he says, he explains, you make monsters for Dracula, right? That's the only reason you're still around. But then, of course, Godbrand's like, okay, I apologize for the outburst earlier. But what do you think of this war? Do you think it's going well, or do you think it's fucked up? And Godbrand's just like, this war is being too random. There's no order to it. What is happening? We're just killing people randomly. They're livestock. We should be eating them. Hector somewhat agrees, saying, I don't want to see people suffering. This is pretty, like, wanton destruction. I'm not too fond of that.
Right, yeah, we actually learn a little bit about Hector and how he's, like, he wants this whole to be more humane than actually vicious.
Yeah, this is when they wheel in a number of dead bodies, including the bishop.
Which, yes, by the way, I didn't want to say anything earlier, but yes, half of his face is actually bitten off.
Okay. Hector gets to work making a corpse monster.
Yep, and this is how we actually get to see devil forging work. He pretty much uses a hammer as, like, I guess if we're going to use D&T terms, as his focus.
Yeah.
Hammers a few times, and then from any dead body, a demon appears.
Yeah, it morphs into a giant demon. And speaking of D&D references, we see the castle begin to shake as Dracula spins a giant D20. to make the whole thing up and teleport.
Yeah,
it's literally a dodecahedron. It's a 20. Yeah,
that's why I said yeah. It is a D20.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you want to be specific, it's a dodecahedron, which is just a 12-sided shape,
Right?
Or 20-sided shape. Yeah, we see it begin to shake and shimmer, and it pops up in the middle of a forest, and this is when the episode ends.
Yeah. So,
now, I was going to say, this whole, seeing all these characters and everything, including Godbrand and all the other vampires from around the world, the Vargas from the first season that I mentioned, you should look up what the studio was. I think it's Studio Mir, who does a lot of animation for a lot of Western stuff, the studio for this.
You know what? Keep talking. Yeah, I'll do it right now.
I was going to say, speaking of, but yeah, between this show having a really cool depiction of vampires from all around the world, I've also been playing a lot of Runeterra, the League of Legends card game, where I have a vampire hemomancer deck. And then, what was I watching? Some other vampire thing. Oh, I was playing Elder Scrolls Online, and the main plot in Skyrim is a number of vampire cults. So I've been, super obsessed with vampire stuff recently, and I've been, forcing myself not to start a damn vampire army in Warhammer as well, because it's such a fun concept. They're all the cool monsters they summon, all the cool, the foppishness is a very fun thing I'm a fan of in my, D&D characters. It's such a cool-ass angle. I love seeing everyone. Godbrand, I love Peter Stormare in anything, because he's fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, here's my question then for you.
Yeah.
First impression of Hector, because you don't get to do much with Isaac.
Not yet, yeah.
Hector and his ability as a Forge Master. Your thoughts on that?
I was going to say, I love any kind of class in a game where any kind of RPG or tabletop thing where you can summon or necromancers or just regular summoners, I always find incredibly interesting. His necromancy was very, very efficient, but there's also his summoning with the creation of those monsters was really, really cool. Mm-hmm. I love seeing all of it. It was such a cool thing. That's an amazingly cool magic that you don't see very often in stuff like this.
Yeah, I said earlier, I think it's Lament of Darkness when you play as Hector.
Really?
Actually Hector, a Devil Forge Master.
Wow.
And the main baddie is, Isaac. At least in the video game lore. This takes a different turn, but yeah, that's how I remembered, Devil Forge, Forge Masters and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's literally literally what they do is they can create, demons and spirits.
Does he summon stuff in the game?
Yeah, that's one of the main gimmicks.
Whoa, holy moly. I gotta check that game out then. I love that. It's cool as well.
PS2.
PS2? Well, I'll just port it on something. Well, actually, Konami, probably not.
Yeah, knowing Konami, probably not.
I was going to say, the only, on my whole summoner thing, just to make this, a little bit longer, the character V in Devil May Cry 5 is
Never played that one, so.
It's a character who literally has just a summon of, this demon, a demon panther, a demon bird, and, a giant golem.
Oh, is it the guy that looks like Kylo Ren?
Oh, yeah, he's very emo-looking.
Okay.
He's, compared to all the other character action people like Dante and Nero, flying around with swords and zipping around, he can barely walk because he uses a cane. He's kind of stumbling around slowly on the battlefield while the monsters are running around doing all the crazy fighting. I love that that's a dynamic that I wish would show up in more stuff. And also, me and Ben are having a fighting game contest. One of my favorite characters in the Guilty Gear series, Jacko, just announced finally returning to Strive. She doesn't have her summons.
She finally got it?
Yeah, she got announced she's going to come out this week.
Okay,
which is very glad I'm not fighting right now because I need my main.
Well, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, we want to go all out.
Yeah, but she still has her summons in a different fashion than before. Because before she played houses and the summons would come out themselves and it was a crazy screen filling thing. Now she's a whole nother dynamic. So I'm a fan of summoner type characters, and I loved Hector as soon as I saw him because he's such a cool character.
Oh, good. You get to button mash the crap with Jacko.
It's not button mash. It's actual strategy.
No. You're right. You use strategy. It's just button mashing.
How dare you?
Now, to answer a further question from you earlier, the production companies, Federator Studios is the main
Federator?
one.
Oh, okay, yeah. They do a lot of animation.
Yeah, Federator. Yeah. And then Shankar Animation and Project 51.
Do they list anything that they've done that we know? Or?
No, I'm just looking at names.
Okay.
Because the Federator is in blue. So that's the big one.
Yeah,
and the other ones are
Federator, I know a ton of stuff.
The animators.
Yeah.
The big one is Powerhouse Animation.
That definitely sounds familiar.
Yeah. Here. We'll take a quick look at this. Powerhouse, what have you done? Because we totally do this in the middle of everything.
Research.
What has Powerhouse done? Projects. Let's see.
Fill that there with...
Scrolling.
I hope we get more of... Oh, I already know we're going to get more of Hector and Isaac's backstory soon.
Okay, let's see. They've done the animated Clerk series.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I knew that was a big one. Apparently they did an animated Mr. Mom video for a country group called Lone Star.
Oh, okay.
And a bunch of other like smaller things. But yeah, either way, the big one was Clerks.
Okay,
animated.
That's such a weird thing. Specific.
And the other two like smaller ones that I haven't heard of for the first 3 seasons.
Yeah,
because there's 4 seasons. The first 3 was a Mua film. Never heard of them.
Nope.
And then for season 4, it was Tiger Animation.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, I can't click on it, so I don't know.
Yeah, but okay.
But either way, the 2 big ones, Powerhouse Animations, and one of the production companies was Frederator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay.
so.
But yeah, on characters, the 2 people we've met so far that have actually had lines, Hector and Godbrand. What do you think of the characters we've met?
Dude. Come on, it's Godbrand. He is a Viking vampire. How can you go wrong with that?
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
I was gonna say,
and like I said,
Godbrand. Like the moment I saw Godbrand and I heard him, I'm like, I'm already gonna like you.
Yeah.
And in my experience of watching things, we're not gonna go into that right now. But Hector and Isaac later on is, in my opinion, the better of the 2.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that when we get to that. But when Hector's introduction and actually seeing what Devil Forge Masters do in this series, they did superbly with it. Like he and you know, you actually got a little bit into his mind, how he's kind of broken, but he still wants to be humane. You know why he has the animal companions, and you know. But now we've talked a very long time about this. How about we go into the next episode? Season 2, episode 2. Old Homes.
At the speaker's hut, we see the scene continue with Alucard drawing in the sand. Sypha approaches, and they prepare to leave. Alucard is very, very kind to Sypha and comforting, which he didn't get any of from Trevor, which is very funny.
And he's an ass to Trevor, and which Trevor likes to respond back with assery. One of my favorite moments in this is as this is happening, as Alucard and Trevor are giving quips to each other. Sypha's just like, I'm gonna go and see if we can find a wagon, and you 2 can stay here if you don't try to kill each other. Alucard's like, yeah, you know, we're not children. Sypha kind of rolls her eyes at that. Immediately as she's out of earshot, Trevor's like, eat shit and die. And Alucard's like, yeah, fuck you. Then they kind of chuckles. Actually,
this is what
you forgot.
What?
Their plan. Trevor mentions that they can go back to his homestead. Where they can find...
I don't think they do that yet.
No, they actually talk about
it here.
Because they're like, what are we going to do? How are we going to fight Dracula? We don't know much. I mean, Alucard's the only one we know, and he doesn't know much either. Mm-hmm. And that's when Trevor's like, hey, we can go back to my homestead. Because it's the Belmont estate. That means, you know, we can find all the things. We've been gathering up different magic, different, like, artifacts, and all the knowledge on Dracula that you could ever want. We'll go there, and we can find out from there what we can do.
Yep.
And because I remember that, because after they have their eat, shit, and die thing, Alucard's like, are you sure we're going to find anything there? And he's like, I honestly don't know. I haven't been there in ages. And Alucard's is like, okay, I mean, I'm trusting you with this. So. Cut to Dracula's castle.
Yeah, the War Council is arguing back and forth, and they won't listen to Dracula as he continues to tell them to calm down, listen to me.
And that's when your favorite character comes in.
Of course.
Describe her.
Carmilla arrives and chastises everyone, including Dracula, in front of the entire court. The voice actress, I looked her up before, I forgot her name, but she's an actor from a number of shows, including Spartacus, the TV show, and she was the love interest in the second season of Dexter, where she was also incredibly cool. She's a really, really cool actress. I wish I would have written her name down, but I love her in anything she's in. Carmilla arrives and chastises Dracula, this whole war is for your wife. Why didn't you ever turn her? Do you not respect vampires? And he's just kind of like, in my private chambers, when everyone's like, looking around like, ooh.
Yeah, pretty much everyone is like, oh.
But yeah, she's
Dracula's like, you my room now.
She's very, very severe looking, long white hair, cool vampire. Which I was gonna say, just for lore, whatever. Right now, the novel or the short story Carmilla predates the story of Dracula by several years.
It really does, yes.
Yep. That's a character I was aware of before. I knew Carmilla from other stuff, like other movies and stuff before this, but then when she came in, I was like, oh, hey, that's cool, she's actually here.
And another note for you, personally,
yeah.
Carmilla is also a staple in the Castlevania series.
I've heard that much. I was curious how she was.
You actually remember her from the fighting game.
She was in that, yeah.
Yeah, only she does not look like that.
She's very different. In that game, everyone has incredibly weird designs because it's Death Note.
I mean, but anyway, back on topic.
In his private chambers, she explains Godbrand is her informant, and that he's like, well, he keeps trying to sleep with me. That's why I get my information from his dumb butt. And she's like, oh, would you? He's like, oh, literally never. He's gross and an idiot.
Maybe if he was the last one. I mean, but I know a few other guys. And girls, maybe even animals. I'm like, okay, Carmilla, you're getting weird here. Pretty much it was just like, why? What was the whole point? It's like, hey, relax, bro.
Yeah, she says she was only like stood up to him in front of the peers just to show, oh, I want to be taken seriously. And he's like, well, don't, because you'll never beat me. And then she kind of smirks and leaves. The good guy party is traveling, and they talk about Alucard being a Dhampir, a half human. He explains that what happened to his mother and how she was killed, and that's why Dracula wants revenge. That's why he's trying to protect the village, people from Dracula. Trevor jokes, but of course he's like, "You're an idiot. Shut up." Alucard's like, "You're an idiot,"
because that's all they do is they argue with each other. And Sypha's just like, "Are you boys serious right now?"
Yeah.
But as they're having this discussion,
they know the next town is Agris, right?
Yes. Agris.
It's the next closest town, and this is when they see some monsters approaching.
Funny story about some of these ones, because these are like winged creatures that have like little spear guys.
Yeah.
Those two, the winged ones, are Gabons, and the little ones are Strigas.
Oh.
Well, actually, I think they're, I think it's like Solgus or something like that. Those two, if you play like Symphony of the Night or like the Sorrows games, they're actually staples.
That's cool.
Of Castlevania. So
I'm glad they have more shadows like that.
I know these two.
They have really, really, really cool fights. Sypha does her actual really cool magic.
Oh, really cool magic, because she never did that before.
She did really awesome magic before. This is actually like offensive, taking out demons just herself.
She's not just protecting. She's actually like attacking.
We see Alucard taking out them with a sword, and of course with the whip and everything with the sword with Trevor Belmont. It's a really cool fight. They defeat most of them. One flees away.
Yep, one of them's badly injured and just flies away.
Yeah, this was the monster party that was approaching Agris, but they took them all out before they got there.
And then we get to Dracula's castle, where we see Isaac whipping himself.
Yep, and we see a flashback of him as he's whipping himself as a child. We see some weird priest that he was working for, and he was usually reading the priest's books. And the guy said, "Oh, you're stealing from me?" And then starts whipping him. He's like, "No, I'm doing it. I want to learn to read just because I love you." And he's like, "Oh, I love you too." And then he starts whipping him again, saying, "Don't ever disagree
I whip
with
you
me.
because I love you.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be reading. You're not supposed to be trying to be better.
Yeah.
How dare you?" And then Isaac snaps.
Yep, the little kid Isaac snaps, gets the priest, gets the whip, and beats them. And this is what you see.
Gouges his eyes out.
Yeah. Trusted him anyway. Yep. Godbrand brings in the dead beast from Agris, and while that's happening, he continues to ignore Godbrand and continues to whip himself. And he's like, "Quit doing that. It's so gross."
Yeah, Godbrand's just like, "You're freaking weird. Hey, look, a demon for you. A demon for you. Apparently, he was close to Agris."
Yeah, but also he asks, "Why do you keep whipping yourself? It's unnatural." He says, "I do it for peace." And then Isaac's...
yeah, slight masochism. It's just like, I do this because it keeps me at ease.
Yeah, and this is when we see him kind of like being very ginger with the demon that's dead and saying, let me get some information out of this one. He's saying that Dracula's world, the world that he wants, is going to be pure. And he brings back the monster and continues to praise Dracula, saying how much he trusts and is loyal to Dracula.
Now, did you notice how Isaac uses his magic? Like, you've noticed.
I noticed, but I don't remember which one. I didn't write down.
Where Hector has a hammer and like ting-tings, Isaac uses a knife. It actually, like, cuts in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so 2 different forms of Devil Forge Masters, but they both literally do the same thing. I like the little differences.
That is very cool.
Like, everyone does it a different way. I'm like, okay, I like this.
Yep, then we cut to the council room where Isaac's approaching and he's scowling at Carmilla, who's still kind of like side-eyeing him, like, This is when we see Godbrand, Hector, and Camilla are discussing where to attack next. They suggest Brayla. But Dracula says, no, it's surrounded by water and it's harmful. This is when we get a really cool little discussion scene about, like, vampire weaknesses in fiction.
Yeah, like, they actually do that. He's like, no, there's running water. And Carmilla's like, but wait. Brayla's a good idea because, I mean, I have control over that, right?
Yeah, and this is
like,
when it
either that or it's like, I live close to there, you know? So I know Brayla very well. We could go there. I mean, yeah, it's dangerous, but... And Dracula's like, I said no.
Yeah, and just like the discussion about the weakness of the flowing water. It says like, oh well, like you're a pirate. How's that work? And like, well, it's an ocean. It's not a creek. And it's just like, wait, it counts if it's a stream, or it's like a really funny thing about like how the aqueducts count or don't count, and it's just like a really cool thing of how their powers work more specifically. Carmilla tries to suck up to Hector, who says, let's do another city. Let's take another city instead.
And then, of course, Isaac, that it would like resurrected, with the resurrected demon is like, hey, Dracula, like just so you know, I had some information from a demon that came by. Yep. Apparently, there are 3 people going towards Agris. One of them looks suspiciously like your son, and that's like that sets something off in Carmilla. Is like, okay.
Oh, no. She says one is possibly your son. The other is a Belmont.
That's right.
And then Carmilla's like,
oh, and Greece, huh? Okay, never mind. We need to take care of that right now. Godbrand's like, what are you talking about? And this is when you actually get to see her fierce for a moment. She's like, look, that's a Belmont, and they're probably going to the Belmont estate. You know, a place where they can get everything necessary to kill us.
Yeah.
Is that reason enough for you?
Yeah, it's just like they've been killing vampires for centuries, and they are incredibly dangerous, and they might have tools that could take back ruin the war for them. And this is when the episode ends. Yeah, good one. Yeah, I absolutely, as soon as Carmilla was introduced, she was immediately my favorite character.
Obviously, because I know your type.
Hell yeah.
I was going to say, I know your type, so yeah, I'm like, I know this is the episode that he's going to like the most.
Of course, Camilla's incredible.
But yeah, here's my question to you, because you mentioned that it was one of your favorite scenes. What was now? Actually, different question, because I did have a question, but I'm going to change it up a bit. Between Carmilla and Isaac, what were the 2 things that you found most interesting about them? I mean, Carmilla, you're going to have to try to dig deep because, again, I know your type.
Well, I'll say that she's a really cool design. She's also the only vampire actually stepping up to and overtly scheming against Dracula to his own knowledge, and she knows that he knows, but they're still going at it as, like, trying to best each other. And it's really fascinating. That's a really cool character and a really tough character to start with. Isaac, another cool-ass summoner. And I've seen, I think a GIF or 2 of, crazy summoning he does in the future. So I'm like, okay, that's fucking dope. He's already cool. Also, I think, his whole backstory, where he came from, is very curious. How that happened. I hope we get more of that.
We'll get a little bit more. But...
Yeah, but he looks really cool. He's a weird masochist, and he's also another magic person who's very ginger with the demons that he controls. Like I said, this is such a huge jump because not to poo-poo the first season or whatever, but this cast of characters I am already way more invested in than the good guy party immediately. I am into them. But yeah,
I mean, season 1. 4 episodes, we have our good guys.
Yeah.
Now let's look at the bad guys.
Yeah,
and
bad
it's just
guy team is incredible.
my goodness, look at this cast. Godbrand, Carmilla, the biggest one. Ugh, Carmilla.
She's wonderful.
And
Hector and Isaac are really cool. And finally, we get to see, this is actually, we didn't mention it the first part, but this is when we actually get to see Dracula currently, what he's up to and what he's planning. Finally, we get to see what he's actually up to. Because the first season, we only see him threatening and then unleashing the army, and then that's all we know of what he's doing.
And now he's more... It's like he's more chill, but he still has a commanding presence kind of thing. Because one thing we didn't mention in the past episode and this episode is every time we see him before, like when he's on his own, he's more soft. He's more like composed and more like I guess tired would be the word. But when he's in front of everyone, he still has his menacing presence. Here's my other question. Now that we've gotten to see all three of them fight for the first time, even though you're not too keen on them right now, the good guy party.
Yeah.
How do you feel about their chemistry so far? Because
probably
this was their first fight.
Oh yeah, and also their dynamics pretty much down pat now with how they read out from each other. Fighting style wise, probably going to go with Alucard just because his weird, graceful fencing, killing other monsters, and also magic.
You always go for pretty boys.
Yeah, well, I have a type.
Yeah, I know, and it's evil femme fatales.
Yeah, that's Alucard. That's Alucard to it too. I think he has the coolest fighting style. I like magic, like Cypher's cool, but I think I like Alucard's like just finesse. Even though I typically have a real disdain for like battle mage stuff, like mixed. I really don't like classes that mix like magic and martial stuff too much, but him being a vampire and him being so like, fencing and just so obviously so much stronger than everybody else. He's such a cool character to watch fight and everything. I really like him the most of the group.
When it comes to fighting, I have a soft spot not for Sypha, but actually for Belmont.
Really?
Now, obviously, it's not just because of the video games, because you always play it. It's in this one, because, it's like, you walk to the side and you go, ka-whip, ka-whip.
Yeah.
Or if you get the 3D ones, it's like, ka-whip, ka-whip, only in 3D. But in this one, you get to see, like, a lot of cool things that, not even with their introduction in Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
None of that. Like some of the combined things that they do.
Oh, absolutely.
Like with how they play off of each other in a fight. It's just superb. And I like... You're like, I do like magic, but I don't like them mixed together. I'm more of the martial type, because you know me. I like to play my physical fighters and D&D and stuff. But... I like the physical fighter a lot more, and because they don't have that, like, for lack of better words, they don't have the crutch or handicap of using magic, which only very intelligent and powerful, spiritually, mentally, however you want to call it, can do.
Yeah.
He's got to go off of everything he's learned. He's got to do everything himself. He doesn't have magic to help him. No, he's got to do everything himself. So he's like powering through everything, and for him to just flow easily, and utilizing the whip, which until like the actual Netflix Castlevania, I didn't think much of it. I'm like, because swords, spears, This guy's like, I use a whip, but the whip's not. Watches this. Okay, the whip is. Hey,
you ever use the cane sword in freaking Bloodborne? That's a really good whip. Or Ivy in Soul Calibur.
Nobody. No. That's a sword and a whip. It's a sword whip.
Yeah, sword whip. But I was going to say, okay, for you, of the 4 villains we've seen so far introduced?
Oh, dude, the Devil Forge Masters by far.
Which one, though?
Both of them.
From what we know so far.
From what we know so far, I literally like both of them because it's a bit of a contrast. You have Hector, who's like, I can make demons, and he's a forge master, and so he uses a hammer. I'm like, oh, forge master, I get it. But he's also he's more of the kinder one, not so much kind, more sympathetic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then you have Isaac, who has only known pain and death and negativity, so he's pointing that outwards by, like, he doesn't care. He is cold-hearted. He wants every human dead.
Yeah.
And it's like he knows that if he's one of them, so be it, because he knows...
Yeah, we're going to spend on that in this next episode.
We know, but I'm just like, from what we know right now, it's like, my first thoughts when I saw this was, he probably knows that, because I've already put in my head, I'm like, oh, he's a human too, so is Hector. They're only a means to an end kind of thing. But he's just cold. And also the fact that I like the little touch where he forge masters using a dagger and actually cutting and stuff. I'm like, okay, that's unique because, it's like a weapon focus. It's like a warlock, kind of thing. So I'm like, I like these two characters for their own merits, but they are exactly the same.
Yeah. I was going to say...
character.
I was gonna say before that, I wanted to go back to those two characters
yeah.
because I like very specifically like almost anti-trope or very rare trope characters, but like the aspect of the group that is trying to wipe out another group and somebody from that part of that like enemy group being on their side. I love that whole dynamic, like the Sword of Truth series, where the main antagonist is this huge army trying to wipe out all magic in the world. One of their people that's very high up is a magic user trying to kill all other magic users because he does believe it's wrong. That's such a cool, and also there's another number of other things that like do that kind of aspect of like, yeah, we're gonna wipe out all of the blah blah blahs, and we have blah blah blahs helping us wipe them all out. Like Witch Hunter Robin, a series that I fucking despised, but was very popular.
I've not heard many good things about it.
But yeah, the main people are like magic users, but they don't refer to themselves as witches, and they're trying to take out witches. And the whole time from episode 1, I was like, they're using magic, they're witches, right? Technically witches, and it's like a whole. But that was an aspect I liked of that. And I like whenever I play Dragon Age Inquisition. Like I said, I always play magic classes. I'm always on the church's side against magic. Just because I'm an asshole. I think it's a very interesting story. Not to go too far afield, but like if you know Dragon Age, the world and the lore, the Qunari, they like tie up their mages and sew their mouths and eyes shut so they can't do anything, that they're not completely chained, physically chained to somebody, ordering them to do something. I played a Qunari in Inquisition who was a magic user who was anti-magic, so she would have technically been in that position. And it's such a fun, but no, all that's to say, of the two, after seeing Isaac and what his angle of how he feels about humans, I like his character a lot more because he is more like, no, they all should be wiped out. But everyone's like, but you're a human. He's just like, yeah, so.
Right. That's
a very cool character type. That's very rare and you don't see very often. And it's so like dramatic, and it can be like if you go to that person's history, it's always very interesting to see where they come from. So I'm a psycho contrarian because I like kind of like stuff like that. But it's very fun. I like that kind of aspect of a character. It's a very specific
and I understand that because, like you said, it's like a quote unquote trope break.
Yeah.
And because you're like, oh, he's a human, he's gonna try to sneakily do something.
Yeah.
No, Hector and Isaac both don't do that.
Yeah.
They both despise humanity for their own reasons, and they're like, yeah, we're humans, but I agree. They need to just die.
Yeah, it's a very, very cool character. That's why but I probably should save that for after this episode because this goes back. And this one goes more into Hector's
which is why I didn't go too far with Isaac.
Yeah, which also does have a little bit of a personal thing to me, which made me like Hector. Make me like Hector a lot more because it's a very personal thing for me. But yeah, we'll go.
But yeah. Episode 3 of season 2,
Shadow Battles.
We start off in Dracula's castle.
No, I'll say we open on a beautiful field and village.
Yes.
Where we see a young Hector enjoying nature, but then he finds a dead dog and he cries over it. And he uses 2 coins he collects together to bring it back to life. And this is when we flash back forward to current day.
Right, and it just I thought this was one of the ones where it did like the back and forth where he's like
it cuts around a little.
Because you see Hector actually working at the forge.
Yeah.
By the way, you remember you said the 2 coins?
Yeah.
We actually noticed as he's hammering, the coins are on his hammer.
Yeah. We see him in current day forging, and then it cuts back to the past where he returns home with his dog.
His dead undead dog.
A dead, with a partially missing face like the ones he has in his lab now. He returns and we see his mom screaming, and it goes back to modern times where he's bringing back a Vargeist from being the dead and claims
You're just going to keep calling him Vargeist.
Yeah, well, that's the only way I refer to them as. Call him like a pet. Now, like I said before, this was very sad because this past year, I did lose 2 of my older dogs. They passed away.
I do remember that.
So when seeing him like with the dog and like bringing them back, I was that made me like honestly tear up when I was watching. I was just like, oh, so nice.
Yeah,
even if it is a partially screwed dog.
You know what? I do get that.
Yeah, I was very like, oh, that's sweet, but it's still it's crazy, but it's still like, oh,
it's that certain tenderness.
Yeah. This made me like Hector. This raised Hector up in my like tier of characters. We see Carmilla enter.
And she's like, oh, I'm positively amazed that you can do such a simple thing like this and actually bring the dead back to life.
Yeah, we learned that the night creatures were once natural beasts that just roamed the land, but now we're wiped out by humans and only a forge master can remake them. Which is a very interesting little world lore thing.
And of course she's like, hey, so you can make a side army, right? So we can go and attack the Belmont estate, right?
Yeah, she says she is concerned. She's kind of like flattering Hector and like building him up, saying, I think Dracula's kind of wavering. I'm not too sure. And then he's like, yeah, I'm not too sure about Dracula either. He's acting kind of strange.
But but Hector still is like, yeah, he is acting a little odd, but then again, who wouldn't? These are trying times. I could make the army, but remember, Dracula is still in control.
Yeah, she says, come on, we need to send a small group to take out the Belmont house. And he says, no, we'll need to wait for Dracula's approval on what to do with the troops.
And then this is when Carmilla asks one of the big questions. How did you join Dracula?
Yeah, we see a flashback of him meeting Dracula. He approaches Hector saying he wants Hector's help.
He's like, pretty much Dracula's like recruited him. He's like, I heard what you do.
Yeah.
And I heard you're not a big fan of humans either. Will you help me out?
Yeah.
And for the first time after Dracula's like escapade on wanting to kill things, and kill all humans, he actually shows a bit of tenderness.
He says he wants to get back at the humans that killed his wife. He doesn't want them to suffer, but he does want revenge. And it says, like, he doesn't want them to be able to harm anyone else. So he comes to him with an angle of, like, no, we're not going to kill all the humans. They'll be livestock. And it's just,
And even Hector's like, this sounds like genocide. I'm not a fan of that, but humans do need to have a calling, so...
Yeah, and this is when he's like, so they'll kept on as livestock, and Dracula's like, yeah, sure. And Hector's like, all right, I agree.
But then we also learn something else from Carmilla. Because she asks about the creatures that the Forge Master creates, and how loyal they are to, the cause. And that's when Hector's like, when I forge a creature, they are completely loyal to me.
Yeah.
Like, no one else. I have to give them the order.
Carmilla keeps pressing him and asks for a side group to get Dracula to attack Brayla.
Yeah, exactly. And, to help convince Dracula, hey, let's do Brayla. Now, we actually get to the Belmont estate.
Yeah.
They're, close to it, because they're in a wagon, and they start just going by, and you see Trevor like, hey, look, I know that tree.
Yeah.
I used to climb that tree when I was a kid. And Sypha's like, we're actually getting a backstory from you.
Yeah, it says, it was a tree, it was a house, it was a boat, it was a fort, it was all kinds of things when I was growing up. And we finally see the large burnt house. Sypha continues to ask questions about it. Like, what was it like? What did you do here? And Trevor's kind of still being avoidant.
Yeah, very avoidant.
But he says when he was around 12 is when they lost it all. And they have a chuckle about, like, what was Alucard's life like? Over like Alucard. You've been alive for how long? What is your life been like growing up? You grew up with, Dracula. This is like, they have a nice little connection moment between them.
Yeah.
Joking about how they all grew up, because, like, he's like, oh, this is my house. And then Sypha's like, I didn't have a house. And then he's like, well, my dad was, Alucard's like, my dad was Dracula. And they're kind of like, yeah, we're all friends.
Right. And as they're, they're looking around in the rubble, and they find this big stone door or slab or something that none of them can actually push. And Sypha's like, wait a minute, this stuff on here, these are like runes and stuff.
Yeah, they can't lift it, but they see a bunch of debris, and then like Trevor's trying to move, and they're like, we need some help. And then Alucard just effortlessly throws all the giant chunks away. It's very funny.
But then when it comes to like a door that none of them can actually, Sypha's like, hold on a second. I think these are magic runes. Let me try a thing. And she casts the spell, and it moves.
Yeah.
Effortlessly.
This is when they see the many pieces of artwork. She says the magic uses Enochian language, which is like a weird
like an
angel.
ancient language.
Yeah. Enochian is specifically, I think, like related to angels. But then, they go inside and they see giant pieces of art depicting past Belmonts. And this is when they mention Leon. I wrote in my notes, a.k.a. Rion Belmont, the first settled the house.
Yep. Leon Belmont, the first Belmont.
Yeah, I was saying in the first games, I think they referred to him as Rion because Japanese translation. But they see a massive library and museum of monsters and texts and all kinds of cool information.
Oh my goodness. You see all text. You see some of the sub-weapons, like an axe and stuff like that. Yeah. You even see the giant skeletal dragon. That's actually a callback to one of the enemies in Castlevania called a bone dragon. They always stuck to walls and they always breathed fire, and they actually were long and snake-like like that too.
Cool. I was gonna say, it reminds me of the giant skull dragon in the Dark Souls 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course they're like, and of course he's Trevor's like, all right, have at it.
Yeah, Alucard continues to mock the Belmonts for having dark. Oh, they have all kinds of dark magic in here, all forbidden stuff. And then Trevor's like, shut up, man. We learn that Leon Belmont came here in the first place to hunt Dracula specifically, and we see a cabinet full of various vampire heads that, or vampire, skulls that, what's the name's checking out? Alucard.
Yeah, Alucard is checking out.
Yep, Trevor finds a big chest and is very hype.
Yeah, and this is when he's like, no, this can't be. And he opens it up and he's like, it is now. Originally in Castlevania, it's known as Vampire Killer.
Nice.
But in this, don't quote me on this, but I think it was because of like a translation kind of thing.
Yeah.
'Cause it's also known as what it is in this, the Morning Star Whip. And for those of you who are like fans and know, it's the Vampire Killer.
Yeah.
But in this one, they just call it Morning Star Whip, and he's just like, yeah, it is literally, instead of the leathery whip that he's been using, it's actually like a chain whip with like an actual like big metal like flail kind of thing at the end, and it looks gorgeous.
Hell yeah. But this is back when, with Dracula, he is approached by Godbrand. He says he wants to start eating humans. I don't want to eat pigs. This sucks. Why are we can't keep killing all the humans. We need to eat.
And of course, Dracula's like, yeah, look, we have blood. It's fine. You don't have to worry about it. And he's like, I don't want pig blood.
Yeah, and this is when he kind of steps to Dracula slightly, and Dracula just stands up, looming over him, just saying, who do you think you're talking to?
I love this because he always calls him Little Godbrand. Yeah. You dare try to stand up to me? No. Then why are you still standing there spouting your little words? I'm like, woo!
Yeah, but then Godbrand scampers off. Dracula like flops back in his couch, feeling a little bit tired, like seeming a little bit vulnerable.
And then as Godbrand is like huffing out, Carmilla's like, "Hey, so how's the big man doing?"
He says, "Dracula's crazy. He's an idiot. He's not feeding. I don't think either. He seems a little bit tired." And then like Carmilla's just like, "What did you just say?" And she throws Godbrand down a giant flight of stairs.
Now hold on.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he's going crazy. I still wouldn't want to fight him, but yeah. And then she's like, hey, I have an idea. And Godbrand's like, nah, I don't want to fuck you right now. That's when she says, I'm sorry, throws him down the stairs. Now that I have your attention, listen up.
Yeah, she pins him and tells him for a being centuries ago, when she was first turned, her master gave her the offer to the world, but then he became old and crazy and cruel. And so she had to kill him. We see her tossing her master out from a window with a chain around his neck, killing him. And she says, and so when I see Dracula doing the same thing, becoming old and crazy and cruel, I won't let it happen again. And so this is why she needs him to attack Brayla.
Yeah, because she doesn't want to be sent on a suicide mission, all for the sake of, a dead wife.
Yeah, and that's when the episode
closes.
Oof.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like I said, the backstory for Hector is a little bit, that's the only thing he gets in the whole episode, but that wasn't enough to make me like him a lot more, because it was a very sad scene.
Because we got the first one with the little bit of audio clues from the fire, and then we got to see a connection as to why his parents were like, ugh.
Yeah, that's very cool backstory for Hector. I appreciated it.
I actually, once again, I did forget about what you had to deal with.
Yeah.
And knowing that and knowing this part of Hector's backstory, had a feeling that there would be a high connection.
Hector jumped in my appreciation from that second on, because I was like, oh, that's he wouldn't forgive. But then also getting Carmilla's backstory a little bit of her being turned and what she is actually doing. She's obviously scheming against Dracula more than we thought, and also she is Dracula's gone crazy, which she's right, because he's he's lying to everybody. He doesn't really have a plan. He's not just going crazy, lashing out, and she's like, yeah, this is stupid, and so she's going to do something about it, which is very, very cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad to she's actually getting some more character on her part, and actually a sympathetic motivation, which I think a lot more characters in stuff like this do need, because Dracula's understandable for backstory. Hector and Isaac, understandable backstories.
Even Carmilla, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But she's saying she still has an understandable reason why.
Yeah, everyone's so well written and so developed as characters that they have so many things going on.
And speaking of development, going back to the good guys, we actually get more backstory from Trevor.
Yeah.
We actually get slight differences, slight backstory from Alucard, and understanding that, because one of the scenes we didn't mention was after he finds this Morning Star Whip.
Yeah.
He actually met, Sypha's just I wonder how Alucard's doing. And of course, Trevor's like, yeah, it is going to be kind of rough because he's joining a vampire killer to kill his own kind, including his dad. He's probably suffering a bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone has a bit of a sympathetic backstory to actually get behind.
Yeah. But, like, continuing the same, like, thing with switching perspective so much from the first season, like, this whole thing, these first 4 anyway, they are, like, so minimalizing the protagonists. It's very, very cool that they're giving so much room to the antagonists.
Well, right. I mean, then again, they did have all season 1 to get your protagonist set up.
Yeah.
Now they're focusing on the antagonist, which... Yeah. Like you said, it's not a big one, but it is somewhat of a trope breaker.
Yeah,
because usually you don't get so much of the bad guys, and this time they're actually doing that.
Yeah, it's so cool. I
even
love
Little
much.
Godbrand actually.
Yeah, Godbrand's gonna get a little bit more in the next, but yeah, like he's such an interesting character. Everyone's so fascinating that I love it. It's a very, very great series. I'm loving it so far. That's why I'm looking forward to getting the episodes I've never seen before.
Oh yeah, hey. But let's not keep them waiting because we have to do the last episode of this session, episode 4 of season 2, Broken Mast. We start off technically we start off in a snowy field.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we start off in a snowy field, and you just see some people running away.
Some armored knight.
Yes, armored knight guys are fighting. Some of them are running away from a whole group of people led by Godbrand.
Just like
vampires, not people.
Yeah, no, he's just like snowboard sliding down the hill after these humans fleeing for their lives. He's just like catching them, cutting their heads off, like not even drinking them, just like killing them left and right.
Just having the beauty of the annihilation.
Yeah, it is a very, very, very beautifully animated fight scene, like they all are in this show. Of him just being like a cool, very like Godbrand, and shouting his name.
Yeah, I'm God. And then even like after he cuts him off, he just slides and like lands on a longboat.
Yeah,
like
yeah, this is great.
And then you realize he's actually just dreaming.
Yeah, we see he's back in the castle just daydreaming and like, I'm so bored, give me some blood. And
give me some blood. And you see like 2 like acolyte little guys holding up a pig. He's like, no. And this is when he actually like mentions to himself, you know what? Carmilla's right. Things are actually going downhill here.
Something must be done.
Yep.
This is when we see Trevor is still in the house. They joke about Sypha. This is when they joke about Sypha not having a home. My bad. I also jumped the gun on that.
Oh, no. This is when Trevor reveals that apparently they have a magic mirror.
Yep. Alucard deduces a cracked mirror is a form of transport, but it's broken.
And some of the runes are, like, not written.
Yeah. Sypha chastises Trevor for, as he continues to talk shit about the family, Alucard. Trevor kind of keeps rising to the bait, and she says, come on, leave him alone. They say that they need to learn what happened with Leon Belmont, and we also learn about his backstory with his name.
Yes, I love that. He's just like, why Trevor?
Yeah,
that doesn't sound Walekian. And then he's like, well, there was a Celt who rode with Leon. His name was Trevor.
Yeah,
Trevor. Like Treffor. And that's when Sypha, like, we have a little cute moment between them because she's like, Trevor, Treffy. I'm going to call you Trevor. And Trevor's like, no, please, God, no.
Very, very cute scene with the protags. But then we cut right to Hector. Walks with Carmilla as she tries to convince him that Dracula is in the wrong.
And as usual, because at this point we already know that Carmilla is scheming against, but she's like using the right words and making Hector think a little bit, and Hector's just like, you know, you're making some good points.
Yeah, he's saying, why didn't he change his wife? Doesn't make any sense. And then Hector's kind of like, yeah, it is kind of weird. That's really weird. Carmilla says that they shouldn't be at war at all because this is a very pointless thing to do. This is when he finally questions his agreement, and it says like, wait, is it actually a culling or is it just full-on genocide? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and then she's like, hey, I have some forces that I can go to Braelia and, we can help out with this. And that's when Hector's like, good, but they're not going to be enough. Yeah. I could probably supply you with some.
She asks him to abandon Dracula to win this war. And she says she has forces prepared. Yeah, at Braelia, like you said. She wants Hector to make more soldiers. And this is when he's just like, I don't know, possibly. And we get another flashback.
Yep, we go to Dracula visiting Isaac.
Yep.
This is one of those little things that you made a mention of, but I need to point this one out. Dracula, Isaac opens the door to Dracula, and they talk a little bit, and before anything else, before they talk further, Dracula says, "Invite me in.
Yeah.
I want to talk more." I'm like, good. You have the fact that in order for a vampire to enter your home, you have to invite them in.
Yeah, and
I like that little touch.
Also, it's a really cool secluded desert castle with a very cool design. They see that that he was being hunted by. Well, we see that when they invites him in, they've already met each other before.
Yeah,
that a group of magicians were trying to hunt Isaac, and Dracula helped him.
Because apparently in this world, some magic users like to use spare parts from living people.
Yeah, especially people like he's references like Isaac, which I assume is dark-skinned people from whatever they're
that
Africa
whole thing.
Is.
But
this is when he tells them the plan. They go over their plan to genocide all humans, the opposite of what he told Hector at the beginning of this episode. Isaac agrees, yeah, let's genocide them, saying that he will be loyal to Dracula to the end and beyond.
Yeah, and we see here, actually, this was the establishment, because we already know that Isaac is unwavering to Dracula, but we actually see a form of kinship, a really strong kinship between Isaac and his admiration for Dracula because of Dracula's mind. Like, he likes how smart Dracula is. But yeah, anyway.
This is when we see in the castle, we see a number of demonic horses in a stable, and Godbrand is bringing the war council out to feed, saying, we're going to go hunting. I can't do this pig shit anymore. Dracula does some scrying magic and opens up a mirror portal to a forest, but does not go through. He kind of just goes and stares at it for a while. It's kind of, what am I going to do? He passes Hector as he starts going through the castle. He sees Hector in his office, in his lab doing his thing.
In his area, working. And as he's walking by, some of the weird little acolyte cloaked figures are kind of giving him a side eye and stuff like that.
He
and then
goes on to see Isaac and talks to him about the council.
Yeah, and he's just like, hey, something just seems off. I feel like people are against me,
including Hector.
Yeah.
And Isaac explains Hector just wants pets, and that's what he wants humans to be. He wants humans to be pets. And that's his whole plan. He doesn't understand.
And that's when we find out that Dracula was like, yeah, it was easy to lie to him about the whole thing. Because he's like a child, they say. He's like a child. He doesn't like the whole cruelty of war kind of thing. So he wants them as livestock and stuff. So it was easy to lie to him about this when really it's just going to be flat out.
Yeah, that's what he says. That's why it was easy to tell you, Isaac, the full truth. Dracula says he feels Isaac might be his only friend. Back cut to Godbrand and the council riding into... This is a really, really cool scene because of how insane it is. Ride into a small town for human blood, and they brutally kill tons of townsfolk, and it's a huge, big attack, which is a really cool scene.
Oh, yeah. And, yeah, it's bloody, it's gory, and it's literally, all the ridiculous ways that they drink the blood. My favorite one, the one where it's, lifted up above the head and just squeezed. I'm but... I know this is weird to say. It is brutal and crazy, but it's still slightly tasteful.
It's a really, really cool scene. I really liked it. It was so interesting seeing all the different vampires from around the world doing their own things, being as crazy, using swords, or using their hands, or just breaking into buildings.
And in some of the other war council, the Arabian looking one and the Asian looking one, you actually get to see what they do more. The Asian type looking vampire actually likes to use mist form a lot.
Yeah, it's
so beautiful.
It was really, really cool. And just imagining what that village is even going through with all these weird vampires from around the planet just attacking them. It's such a cool scene.
And then we cut back to the Belmont estate at night.
Yeah, Trevor is sleepy and bored in the house library.
Yep, and he's like, hey, Sypha, how are you? I'm doing okay. I'm a bit lonely, but, Yeah. And he's like, it smells bad, but you should join me.
Yeah, he holds his cloak out for her to go under, and she's like, oh, fine. But they talk about how Sypha talks about how sad and distant Alucard is.
Right.
And how Trevor feels the same.
Yeah, and how Trevor is pretty much kind of the same. And but she's also happy that Trevor actually opened up.
Yeah. But
opened up and, offered him a smelly blanket. And he's just like, that might not just be the... And she's already asleep. It's like, aw, another tender moment.
Very cute scene. This is when Godbrand, back in the castle, tries to turn Isaac against Dracula.
Yep, Godbrand.
Yeah.
Oh, Godbrand. One of my favorite of the War Council is like, hey, Dracula's fucking crazy. We need to do something about him, Isaac. And Isaac's like, huh. Well, thanks, buddy. And then literally just slaughters him.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know that there's a traitor here.
Yeah, he uses his tools, knocks the shit out of Godbrand, and beats the crap out of him.
Yep, and after that killing and after him being like, thanks for letting me know there's a traitor amongst us, that's when the episode ends.
Yeah, he also he ripped Godbrand's throat out, he just
completely
obliterated him very easily.
Oh, it even used the weird whip thing that he was using to go around his neck kind of thing. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, he says, oh, now, like you said, now knowing that there is corruption in the court, and that is when this batch of episodes ends.
Yeah. So God. I already know how you feel about good old Godbrand and stuff, but just. Actually, this is a very tough one because this episode pretty much gathered. I've already pretty much asked things that you already know, pretty much. But still, just what were in these 4 batch of episodes? Like I did with the previous session. What was your most favorite thing about these 4 episodes?
Well, like I've been saying the whole time, just the expanding upon of the villain group is so appreciated. Having them all have actual motivations and not just be like, nah, I'm evil or I'm stupid. It's just no, they're normal people that have their own personal stories and personal, history and baggage that they're all bringing to their characters now to bring them to this point. It's so fascinating that they get some, but also, like I said before, and saying again, they're this is obviously to the detriment of the main good guy party because, every single of these characters in this batch of 4 have had so much more backstory and exposition and history given to them than the trios had so far, even in the first season and this one combined.
Yeah.
But I do like that because I find all these characters really, really cool and really, I want to find out more about them even now.
All right, I'm not going to ask about your favorite.
Yeah, that'd be difficult.
No, it would be Carmilla because we.
Well, no, hey, I don't know.
Which did you find when you were watching any of the episodes that we've watched so far? Which did you find to be the most surprisingly good? Let me simplify it. Which one surprised you the most?
Character or episode?
Yeah, character. Which character surprised you the most? It could be in a good way. It could be in a bad way.
Surprised me the most.
Here, let me give you an example.
Yeah, you go ahead.
For me, I was surprised the most. See, I already know about Carmilla.
Yeah.
Because I played the games, I know what she's like, and I already knew she was gonna be a betraying bitch. Mm-hmm. But the character that surprised me the most was actually Hector, because in this one he's very sympathetic.
Yeah.
Because Devil Forge Masters. I'm like, I know Devil Forge Masters, and this was before I actually played the game that Hector was in.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, Devil Forge Masters. They forge, they're gonna be like, yeah, we're humans, but whatever. Like Isaac, I was expecting another Isaac.
Yeah.
But he's very sympathetic. He's very he's very kind-hearted.
Yeah.
Even though he knows that it has to happen, I'm like, okay, that was a surprise for me. But for me, it was a good surprise because it gives more depth to Hector, and it's kind of like an opposites kind of thing with Isaac and Hector.
Yeah, I was gonna say my most surprising would probably be Godbrand. I had a huge turnaround on his character because Originally, I was like, oh yeah, this cliche character of like the sniveling court guy who's like against the guy and is very annoying and contrarian all the time. But then he ended up being really, really fun, really, really funny, and how stupid he is and how does whatever he wants, but also how poor he is at like convincing anybody to join their side because he went to freaking Isaac like an idiot. But then it's like him being bored and like he had a real cool turnaround because I thought this character was like, oh, it's a one-note idiot who's like gonna get wiped out immediately by the good guys in another episode. But then he got his whole backstory. We got to see him actually being powerful and seeing how much stronger he is than humans. But then we also got to see how strong Isaac is by having him take him out so easily. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, he was a fun character because, like I said, I love Peter Stormare in anything. I didn't have any faith in this character doing anything important or interesting. Him taking all of the council out to that village was really funny. He had a whole bunch more that I didn't expect from him. But then, of course, he ends up dying in this episode. But I liked how much I ended up liking him. I was a shock to me. Also, like I said, the Hector bringing back the dog thing was like, that surprised me how much it made me like the character who I already written off in my brain, like, all right, I see Isaac and Hector. Isaac's way cooler. Hector is very boring, and he's obviously getting tricked by Carmilla. He's an idiot. But then, like, oh no, they say he just wants pets. And I'm like, oh yeah, it is kind of like he just wants to, be around his animals. He's supposed to be a good guy, kind of. He just wants to be like, not good guy because he wants to call humans like animals, but he's being a little bit more like. He's being more humane. He's being nicer, but he's also being taken advantage of. So it's like, oh, he's actually a pretty interesting character too.
Right.
So, but yeah, I say probably Godbrand was my most surprising. But then, of course, he's out of the show now.
Yeah. Now, at the end of the first episode, you asked me a question. What do you have one for me this time?
Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, you usually like to do these things. Like, well, even though I'm the one who like suggested this one, I like it when I have a few questions for him, but he also asks me a kind of.
I can't ask you anything about the future of the series because I know you're ahead of me, and I don't want to get spoilers.
Yeah, I'm way too ahead of you. I'm so ahead that I finished it.
Yeah, exactly. I would say
no.
Who's your favorite fighter we've seen so far?
Of all of them?
Yeah, everyone we've seen be actually in combat in some kind.
Unnamed character, because it's the mist vampire.
Oh, yeah.
I just like she reminds me of like of some kind of like yokai, because
you mean like the hopping Chinese thing, like the I forgot the called
some kind of
what's her name from Darkstalkers?
Yeah. But like the way she's like mysterious with all the mist and stuff, and I mean it's like she has an elegance, but she still has a bloodthirst.
Yeah.
It's not that I feel like that's like a very strong like fighting style, because I still think Trevor's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's a different and a unique take on things, and I like it because it's not. She doesn't use power. She uses like I don't know. It's hard for me to describe, but I like that a lot better.
Yeah, I was say in Elder Scrolls Online, when you get the vampire, when you turn into a vampire, someone gets you.
Yep.
You have one of your powers is the mist form, where you can just become intangible and invisible for a short amount of time while you travel through like a bunch of stuff. And I thought it was really cool. It's a very common like trope for vampires to have that power, but seeing such a different new ability being used by one of them was very cool.
Oh, what about you?
Best fighter. I'd probably still Alucard at this point because he looks like he could probably have handled like a lot of people with his style. I think he could have taken Gambran easily as Isaac did. I want to see Isaac do more. I'm very curious how he does. And also I want to see Hector do more because we haven't seen him physically fight. We've just seen him make monsters. I'm curious if he does or doesn't. I don't know yet. I don't remember. Like I said, I don't remember how the season goes. So I don't know what's going to happen to him.
Now here's my big question, because you actually gave me a good one. What do you expect for the rest of this? Because you haven't watched season 2 in a long time, so you've forgotten things.
I do remember like how I remember like the very, very last like thing of this season. What happens? I also vaguely know of like some of the other jokey things. I'm very curious. I don't want to say what I think's gonna happen because I know what's gonna happen in the beginning of this season. But
you're curious about.
I hope we see more villain groups that are more like developed as this group was, because I don't know how much they're going to stick around for the rest of the series, but I do want to see more bad guys being introduced and more bad guys being developed as well as these people were. Definitely.
That's fair. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, when it comes to a story or video games and stuff, I did notice you had a more higher affinity to villains.
Yeah, if they're well written and not.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone's well written, you're interested in
Yeah,
that.
I always play. Yeah, like any RPG, like any Bethesda game, any freaking BioWare game, I will always go the like Renegade route just to see what it's like because I find like just pure protagonist runs very. Like I said, for this the 2 series we're covering, it's very like because of how the villains are. And everything. I like to see where they come from and why they're motivated by what they're doing, more so than I see like the good guy being like, no, you gotta help people. It's like, okay, well that's obvious. I get you. You're understandable. But yeah, that's why I'm liking how much this series turned from the first season, like to just straight up like most like literally. I'm pretty sure I wish I could clock the screen time of the villains so far or the antagonists so far compared to the protags in this batch of 4 and going forward. I'm very curious, but yeah, I'm enjoying this series a lot. I'm glad you picked it, Ben. It's a great show.
Hey, I'm glad you're liking it. Very rarely, see, with you and like my one of my brothers, it's very hard for me to find something good for you because either A, you've already seen it, or B, it's just like not in your taste because you and he. If there's a way I could call it, you guys have a more refined taste in things. So when I actually like introduce you to something, like back when we did Over the Garden Wall, like I was worried that you wouldn't like that, and you're like, dude, I love
that
this.
Was wonderful,
I'm like, good, okay. So yeah, so it actually makes me happy that you're actually enjoying this a lot.
Awesome.
So the shameless part of this whole thing, because I don't have any. Your shameless plugs.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's see. Matthew Lewis P on Twitter. Matthew Lewis Podcasts on almost everything like YouTube and Twitch. Check out The Forgotten Minotaur King.
Where can I get that?
Oh, we can get that on the book you can get at Amazon.com. And you can get the audiobook anywhere where audiobooks are sold, including YouTube. Right now, I'm on my phone trying to figure out Ben's fucking...
No, listen. There's a
Check your Twitter.
Hey, there's a reason why. Is because I have a lot of plans and I'm very bad at executing them. I might use a different one for public. So I'm not using that for the public. That's why I'm not using it.
If you want to bug Ben...
No, I'm being serious.
Okay. But yeah, those are my plugs for as of right now. Ben, check your Twitter. And that's my stuff. Oh, Movie Garbage, of course. Movie Garbage, check that out.
Yeah, that's the second time you almost forgot Movie Garbage.
I know. Well, it's a bi-monthly show, so as opposed to this one, which is going to be weekly when it comes back. Check out that. I'm looking forward to more of this. I'm looking forward to more of She-Ra. I'm looking forward to any more mini episodes you have coming up. Ben, I don't know by this point if your appearance on the Movie Garbage podcast will have popped up by now or not, but we'll see.
Time is irrelevant, so by this time it may have or may have not.
All right, that's all I got to say for me.
Well, then good. Then to wrap this all up, from us to you,
keep it sleazy.